Hey everyone, it's Evangeline right here at eTrailer. Today we're taking a look at the Hollywood Racks Destination e-bike rack for electric bikes and seeing how it fits here on our 2024 Dodge Durango. Now, right off the bat, this is going to be a great bike rack for your heavy bikes because you have a 70-pound weight capacity, but you also have some other fun features that just make it a bit more compatible with those heftier bikes. One big example is going to be how this rack tilts away. Now the Durango has a pretty large hatch, which means you need a pretty decent amount of clearance in order to open up that hatch. Here you have this knob in the center, you turn it so you loosen it, and that way you can push it out. And this way you can push the entire bike rack away, right there. So here on our Durango, plenty of clearance, I'm not worried about it. We can now grab our helmets, grab our backpacks. If you're the type of person that likes to switch out your shoes here in your tailgate, that's going to be an option available for you, even with your bikes on. You can see again how much clearance we have there. And now when you need to lift it back up into position, it's simply a matter of hoisting this up till it sits into place, and then making sure you secure that knob again before you hit the road. Now, one thing, or I guess another thing that I noticed here on our Durango is that the factory hitch sits pretty high up, which means that your bikes are going to sit pretty high up no matter what type of bike rack you have. So, the good news is this does come with a ramp. I have it right behind me, although the ramp does not store on the vehicle. So, when we take our bike off, we first need to loosen the 4 different touch points on the bike. So 1, 2, and 3 are going to be the wheel straps. Simply a matter of pressing that lever, pulling on that strap, swinging it out of the way so it doesn't get caught up in the spokes. So we need multiple straps, again because of that extreme tilt away that we saw earlier. Also, these straps are accessible from outside of the bike rack. So you can see here, plenty of space for me between the bike and our Durango. Now before I do that last one, we're gonna set up the ramp. So this ramp does extend out like that and has a knob in the back that secures it. This also secures to the rear cradle, just like that. If you have limited spacing between your vehicle and other cars, you can put it on the rear cradle on whichever side. That's just something to be mindful of. You can't put it off the front cradle. Now I'm going to remove my bike, and this has just a claw that secures to the frame of the bike. I actually like this design for this specific case just because we have a lock at the end of the claw. So that way I don't have to deal with cable locks. This does make it a bit easier to use. The one downside is that it does make contact with your bike frame if you don't like that. So here we have our ramp set up. All you need to do is just ramp the bike down. So you can see here we have a really big angle that we're going down. I'm really glad I have a ramp and that I don't have to hoist the bike up or down. So that's going to be what it looks like. And with your heavier bikes, you can just see how that would be pretty difficult to do. Now I'm going to go and put the bike away. Let's take a close look at the dimensions or the look of our bike rack. You can see those cradles there. They're shaped kind of like wings, and that's cool compared to a tray style. You get some good versatility for different wheelbases. Even for those wider tires, that works well with a maximum tire width capacity of 4.5 inches. So again, for your larger e-bikes or step-through bikes, maybe you have a cruiser, maybe you have a bike with fenders, those are all totally fine because you have that more versatile frame mount compared to some other dual wheel mount racks. Now, the downside though is there definitely is a lot more things you have to do with this bike rack just to get everything in place. For example, if I wanted to make this a bit more compact and neat, I have to remove these straps, push down these levers, and then I can push down this whole mast, and then I repeat that process to secure everything. So you can see here, compared to some other racks, definitely more process involved. All those functions are in there to make this a very secure design. It's just a bit tedious over time. But here we have it in the getting ready to fold up position. So we'll take some measurements so you can see the difference between it folded down and folded up. So when you're driving around town, if you measure from the bumper to the end of the rack, so not this mast, but this spot over here, that's about 36 inches or 3 feet. So pretty normal for a 2-bike platform rack. But since the Durango is already a kind of larger SUV, just double check your garage space, or if you have to park in a tight spot, if you're gonna fit. Next is ground clearance. So end of the rack to the ground, 23 inches. Center of the rack to the ground, 27 inches. So that's like 2.5 feet. And that's a lot of height for your up to 70-pound bikes. Again, it's a good thing you have an included ramp. You don't have to purchase it separately. You don't have to use it, but it's there if you need it. Now what I am gonna do though, is I'm gonna fold up our bike rack to be a bit more compact. So over in towards the center of your bike rack, you're gonna see where it fits into the hitch receiver. By the way, again, helpful we have a factory hitch. And then we're just gonna take this pin out so that I can lift the rack up. And then I just put the pin in a hole right above where I just took it out. That secures right there. And this is going to be the compact position. So if we measure from the vehicle to the end of the rack, this time it now sits at 17 inches. So there's a good difference there compared to previously. And when you're driving around, I do recommend folding up your bike rack like this, just because it takes up less space, it's more compact, but it's also more safe. This is going to be what people see when they are behind you. Not everyone sees a bike rack in the folded down position, but this is going to be a lot better for visibility. Your taillights are still visible, a lot of your rear window is visible, and your backup camera, which is centered behind your vehicle, will be right there in this opening. Now, technically your license plate is covered a bit, but I think it's pretty visible. So just double check the requirements of your area when it comes to license plates. Well, with all things being said, this has a really good weight capacity. It tilts really far down so that you have almost full clearance, or technically full clearance of opening up your hatch, and it has an included ramp. The only thing that I am not the biggest fan of is just all the extra work that you have to do to get your bikes up and onto your rack. So something that I would recommend as an alternative is maybe check out the Rocky Mounts Gigawatt. That one's a pretty cool bike rack. It is a front and rear wheel mounted rack. So zero frame contact, has a really decent weight capacity. You can use a ramp with that one, but the difference is definitely going to be ease of use. So not the same type of clearance that you get with a Destination E, but it does depend on what your priorities are. So if you're looking for a great bike rack for your heavy electric bikes, this right here was a look at the Hollywood Rack's Destination E 2-bike carrier on a 2024 Dodge Durango.
Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the Solemn. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners and evasive maneuvers. Then we get to the alternating speed bumps. We'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving on uneven pavement. Then we'll go over the full speed bumps, and we can see the up and down action. This will be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or a driveway.